What's going on, guys? Welcome back to another episode of, we'll call this one Heavyweight Nation Updates, because obviously we got the US Open going on. I'm sorry, first off, it is very late. It is 11 o'clock at night right now. US Open just wrapped up. Me and Matthew, we knew we had to get on here and talk. Obviously we got some big developments, some big upsets, some stuff like that. So first off, we're kind of just going to touch a little bit on Greco. Greco's not a big thing in the United States, but those guys are out there grinding still, trying to make a world team. So first off, I just want to say the United States military runs Greco. I want to say 4 or 5 of the guys that won at their weight class were part of the military, so part of the WCAP. So shout out to the U.S. military for building absolutely Greco monsters, bro. Incredible, incredible. And then obviously 130 kilograms, we saw, in my opinion, not an upset. I know a lot of people thought Adam Kuhn was just kind of gonna walk back into wrestling after taking, at this point, I want to say 2 or 3 years off, um,
Something
and
close to it.
something close to that. And everybody kind of thought he was just gonna be able to get right back into it and step up, is kind of walk all over the competition. But Colin Schultz had a little bit of something to say to that with an 11-0 tech. So 11-0 tech over Adam Kuhn, huge for Colin Schultz. I mean, had an incredible showing this year, in the NCAA season, and then being able to come out here and, you know, at this point, I'm pretty sure that secures his spot for the Greco World Team. I want to say, I don't know who the representative was
Last year,
last
yeah.
season, but yeah. So shout out Colin Schultz, man. Came out with his fist flying at a World Team trials. So other than that, man, we're gonna kind of hop right into the freestyle senior level stuff here. We
Crazy
just
matches.
finished, just wrapped up the semifinals, starting off 55 kg. We got to talk about it. Spencer Lee decides that he's going to exit the tournament after 3 dominant matches. I mean, the gig looked fine to me. I mean, Flo put out a great 20-minute long video with just Spencer's dad, and Spencer's dad kind of talked through everything that's going on. And I mean, kid just needs to get healthy. I mean, we've seen him his whole career pretty much from start to finish battling injuries. So I think leaving this tournament early, I mean, at the end of the day, yes, being a world champion is awesome. But I think a lot of these guys, this tournament was kind of just, you know, go out there, try to make a world team. If not, all right, we have an Olympic year next year. And I
You
think
know,
we
I
see
think I
that
think it's the smart move for him to
it
try to
is
get ready for the Olympics and not
100%.
re-injure, re-aggravate something that doesn't need to be. And some people may think he's running from Suriano, who's obviously no joke at all. But I think it's more of him looking ahead, looking to the future.
100%. And I agree with that. I agree with that 100%, Matthew. I think the smart decision, if he's not 100%, was not to go up against probably the best Nick Sirianni we've seen. And that's crazy to say because he, multiple time All American national champ. Like, this guy is a dog. And I think he knew he was going to be in for a dog fight. And I don't think physically he could handle it. And I mean, that would be his 4th match of the day today. So you got to think, man, through 3 matches, what those knees were feeling like for him. I mean, there's no shade on Spencer Lee. Kid's a dog. I think give him a year to really get healthy, whether he needs more surgery, which I wouldn't be surprised if we hear that maybe come out that he decides he's going to need to get his knee fixed again, because we've heard kind of people that one surgery doesn't fix it and you got to go back in, or whether he teared it. Matthew had had some experiences with getting his knees done. So I don't know, man. I hope
Yep.
I hope he's healthy and I hope he's physically all right, and that I hope next year he comes back even stronger. But
Yeah, I totally
nonetheless,
agree.
man, sets it up
But
for a
talking on Suriano, I mean, for someone who kind of disappeared for almost a year to come back, little new hairdo, little tan, and look just that dominant, that aggressive, that powerful. And he's always been one to cut down to the weight where he looks way bigger than everyone, but he looks big.
he looks mean, bro. Yeah, man. I agree with you 100%. So Nick Sirianni's into the finals, and then obviously we got the 1 seed, Zane Richards, who, I mean, had a great tournament so far. I mean, a very dominant win in the semis, 8-4 over Jacob Camacho. Shout out Jacob Camacho. Had a 10-0 tech fall over Pat Glory in the first round.
That was crazy.
Huge, 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 huge match there. So nothing you could take away from him, but I mean, he pretty much just, you know, I want to say he had three techs and a regular decision on this way to the finals. So
Also in that weight earlier in the day, Dayton Fix not competing.
yeah, Dayton Fix also decided that it was
So that
wasn't
threw
going to
threw
do it.
another wrench in to a bracket that looked almost unbelievably stacked to
100%.
two people that withdrew.
Yeah, crazy, crazy. We see two national champs, who decide that they aren't going to keep rolling. So I mean, not national champs, but two guys who have competed on the biggest stages. We saw that huge, battle that they had, previously in freestyle, especially Dayton. Dayton was a guy who the US Open you could never count out, no matter, where he was seated or anything like that. So, you know, obviously sad to see him go, but maybe he's got some physical stuff as well that's putting a burden on his wrestling. So moving up to 61 kg, um, had some really great matches here as well. We saw Seth Gross take on Austin DeSanto, and then we saw Nathan Tomasello take on Vito Arujau. So obviously, the big match here was Austin DeSanto being able to take a win over number one seeded Seth Gross. So
Yeah, that's
obviously, DeSanto looked like a mountain man. I don't know
you
where
want
he's
to say
been
you're
at.
surprised. You want to say you're surprised because
You
of,
can't be.
but you
DeSanto
can't be
doesn't
surprised.
surprise
It's
anybody.
DeSanto.
Yeah.
He is the king of upsets, and he did look like a mountain man. I don't think I've ever seen that much
He's got
hair
the
on his
hair
chest.
long, the chest hair is popping. He looks like he's ready to let it rip. And I am excited for tomorrow because him and Vito, very, in my opinion, very opposite stylistically. DeSanto is super strong and he kind of likes to slow the pace a little bit. So I'm excited to see how he handles Vito's in your face, fast pace, quick feet. I'm excited to see how that
We
goes. I
might
mean,
see some hands get thrown.
I don't know if I'll go that far. I think Vito's a pretty peaceful guy, but I
I'm not
think
saying by veto.
we might, but yeah. So DeSanto gets a 5-4 decision over Seth Gross, and then Vito gets a 8-3 decision over Nathan Tomasello. So
Yeah.
that'll take us
And
over. I'll pass it over to Matt.
when we talk to Vito, he
Eyes on the
says
prize.
freestyle is what I'm better at, what I prefer. And for him to win a national championship this year so dominantly, and then come and enter the finals so dominantly, I have no doubt he's gonna put on a really fun show.
Yeah, and we had some crazy current news going on right now at this weight class. So during the tournament, actually while the matches were going on, we saw a Penn State battle at 65 kg. We saw Nick Lee wrestle Bo Bartlett, and then on the top side, we saw Joseph McKenna wrestle Ridge Lovett. So during the match, while it was being televised, they raised Bo Bartlett's hand. Now, number 10 seed, huge upset victory there for Bo Bartlett coming in after an impressive third place finish at Nationals, but a guy that a lot of people knew his freestyle game is huge, man. He's awesome, awesome freestyle wrestler. And he was able to, or so we thought, get the victory. But it turns out, looking back on the criteria, Nick Lee has beaten Bo Bartlett, and Nick Lee will be wrestling against Joey McKenna tomorrow, who got an 8-3 victory over Ridge Lovett. So I feel bad for Bartlett. I really do. I
I
mean,
do.
the kid is young. Kid has a ton of career left. A mentor to him. I'm sure a practice partner. I'm sure a guy that he puts his hands on a ton, during the season. And I'm sure a practice partner, like I said, and being able to get a victory over a seasoned vet like Nick Lee, I'm sure was huge for Bartlett. But the refs got it wrong. The refs got the scoring wrong. It turned out that Nick Lee had the criteria win over a
4
tied
point move.
10-10 match, which I believe, don't hold me here, I believe it was the 4-point move that put him over top. I'm just shocked that they did that. I mean, in my opinion, Bo stepped off the mat. I'm sure he was either rooting his teammates on, back at the hotel, taking a shower, getting ready to rest up for tomorrow, on the phone with his family, hanging out with his family, anything like that. I mean, it's sad to see something like that happen to a young guy who, in my opinion, wrestled an awesome match. I mean, the 10-10 match is no joke.
That's yeah,
Ton of scoring was
constant
going
action,
on,
constant
constant
action,
action. So, that makes Joe McKenna Nick Lee for tomorrow in the finals at 65. So moving up
which
to
will be fun to watch.
moving up to 70. 70 kg had a crazy, crazy round of 32. we saw the 1 seed lose. He got pinned. So Josh Butler, who I believe now has today announced his commitment to Rutgers,
Good.
he got a pin over Alec Pentello, who or Pentello, who was the 1 seed. I mean, crazy. I mean, to see a guy like that who comes into the tournament unseeded, was not seeded in the top 5, to get a huge win like that, got to give it to the guy. Now, he did end up following the next round, but it doesn't matter. Kid beat the 1 seed. I'd go home pretty happy. I mean, I'm sure, you know, he's not too happy, but from a fan standpoint, looked pretty dominant. So we also saw in the semifinals, we saw Sammy Sasso get a huge 9-2 win. Looked incredible. I think if anything, you got to watch out for his crotch lock. I mean, he locked. I mean, pretty much the entire match that was his go-to move, just locking the crotch and lift, and it worked for him. And then we saw Tyler Berger, who is a classic, at this point in the field of senior level wrestling, take out Hayden Hidley. Another huge high scoring match, 11-10. Another match where it was a push out that decided the score. So I mean, crazy action we've seen so far. I mean, we'll see Sasso and Berger get after it tomorrow, and I think that'll be super exciting to see. I think it'll be definitely a high scoring match. I think those two,
Yeah.
putting
At
up
these
20.
worlds, it's a bunch of Big Ten wrestlers, which is what we're seeing,
Yeah,
which is really, really awesome to see. D1 wrestling, and I'm sure there's a couple sleepers in there making a run,
100%.
but these guys just look dominant in both
So
sides.
at 74 kilograms, we will see a battle between two of the members of Murderers Row. Two guys that were brothers, and I'm sure still are to this day. We will see Jason Nolf go up against Vincenzo Joseph. Vincenzo Joseph's now with Sunkist Kids. Nolf is still with Nittany Lion Wrestling Club. But in Nolf's semifinal match, we did get to see kind of, I think, a match that I was looking forward to. A young buck in the field, a 2-time national champ, Keegan O'Toole. And I mean, Nolf just put the veteran strength on him, in my opinion. Keegan looked like he really didn't have a lot to answer. I mean, Nolf is an incredible wrestler. We saw him have some great matches with Jordan Burroughs last year. So to me, not surprising. I mean, Nolf is there to win, and I think tomorrow we're gonna see fireworks. He comes in the tournament once at the number 1 seed. Not surprised at all that he was able to get it done in the semis, and then Vincenzo Joseph comes in the 3 seed. Very very familiar opponent. Josh Shields. They've had a ton of battles in the freestyle scene, so he gets a 5-3 decision in that match. So that sets up Nolf versus Joseph at 74 kg. So moving on to 79 kg, one of my favorite guys, pretty much since last year, has been Chance Marsteller. I mean, the guy has been able to put it on. He has been able to put on a
Yeah.
show, and he goes out there and scraps pretty much every time we see him wrestle. So he was able to get a 6-1 win over a very good Davey McFadden. I mean, McFadden is one of those guys who we've seen at all levels in the world scene, and I think no shade to him, but an incredible win for Marsteller 6-1. And then we saw Alex Daringer, another guy, number 3 seed. He was able to take out the young buck. Another young guy falls in this tournament. I think the senior level stuff is kind of showing where the young guys are at. And, in my opinion, Starachi looked like he hurt his knee pretty bad in the beginning of the
Yeah.
match. And I think the decision was just to keep going. I mean, I think you can't take any, shame away from him. He falls 7-1. I think he's not a 7-1 match with the Alex Daringer if he's good. But no shame on Daringer. Obviously, he's got a huge test tomorrow against Chance
Hopefully it's
Marsteller.
nothing serious for Starachi,
Yeah,
though.
I mean, that's
We
a
we
guy
want
going
to
for
see
his
him
fourth
healthy.
national title next year. So
Yeah, we
let's
want to
hope.
we want to see him healthy.
Yeah, 100%. Hopefully he's good, and maybe just twisted something the wrong way, and hopefully everything will be fine. So moving on to 86 kg, we saw the return of Zahid Valencia, which I think a lot of people were excited about,
Highly
and we
anticipated for sure.
we saw him take out the other Hidley brother. We saw him take out Trent, 8-3 decision. And then on the backside, we saw another Penn State duel with another guy from Murderers Row falling this time. We saw Aaron Brooks, the young buck, take out the veteran Mark Hall 6-1 decision. Another match, kind of like Daringer Strachey, looked like Mark Hall had some back or some neck issues within the first 30 seconds of the match, and I think a 6-1 match is not Mark Hall's level compared to Aaron Brooks, but
No, but I also think this shows kind of the evolution of wrestling,
I agree.
you know.
I
And
agree
Mark
100%.
Hall was the guy. He was the guy, and to have another Penn State guy in there kind of shows how wrestling's evolving and those kind of stylistic matchups now.
Changing of the guard, man. We're gonna see this a lot, I think, in the next couple of years.
Yeah.
We'll talk a little bit about it more at 125 kg, but I think the time is coming for a lot of these older guys. We're going to see them kind of depart. We're going to see some of these new guys get into it. So 92 kgs, man, a weight that we thought for sure we knew what the finals would be. When all things are said and done, we saw Colin Moore put on a show against a very good Eric Schultz. Eric Schultz out of Nebraska, super awesome career he had there. And Colin Moore was able to get a tech fall, 10-0 tech fall over Eric Schultz. And then, we thought we knew what the finals were going to be like, but Mike Machiavello had another plan for us. So Mike Machiavello was able to take out Nate Jackson 4-2 with I want to say it was the last 10 seconds he scored. So super close match. It was 2-2 tie. No one had criteria. So, actually, no. I think Machiavello had criteria in the 2-2. Or no, I'm sorry. It's super late at night. Nate Jackson had the criteria 2-2. Machiavello comes up and slips a takedown in to end the match 4-2. So we will see number 1 Colin Moore going up against number 3 Mike Machiavello. 97
I
kg.
kind of do feel bad for Nate Jackson because I know he works his tail off, and he had that whole thing with being falsely positive for that drug testing, and this was supposed to be his comeback. And we've talked to him before, and he's a great guy, and God
Family
bless
man.
him.
Yeah.
Family man for sure. But
Super genuine, down to earth dude. And
I think he's only going to come back stronger.
What happened to him was unfortunate, but it happened to, I want to say there was a full, I think in the interview you said 30 athletes that got
it was something crazy.
false positives. So, you wonder how that happens. You really do. So next we have the man who stepped down from his spot representing the world team at 92 kg. A lot of people don't realize this, man, but the weight cut gets harder as you get older. So Jaden Cox, decided I'm not going to cut the weight, and he wants Kyle Snyder. So we got to see Jaden Cox get an 11-1 tech fall in the semifinals. And then
no surprise.
A man, in my opinion, who impressed me the most, if I had to pick one guy, it would be Isaac Trumbull. Isaac Trumbull comes out there against the number 2 seed, a very dominant TJ Dudley, and he gets a pin. He gets a pin in, I want to say, no joke, on Flow Arena, it says 5 minutes and 59 seconds. So in the last 1 second of the match, he was able to get a pin, but he was up 12-4. So it was going to go his way either way. So we have an unseeded Isaac Trumbull going up against a number 1 Jaden Cox at 97 kg. And finally, my favorite, the big boys are back. And by me, when I say the big boys, Gable Dan Stevenson put on a show. The man, anybody out there who said that this match is going to be close, sorry to inform you, but you are very wrong. Mason Parris and him had a great exchange of words, a handshake, a couple of hugs, looked like they're very good friends. I know, Mason's trying to make his mark in the WWE, hopefully here soon. So they both are, that's going to be their business, hopefully, after wrestling's all said and done for them. But Gable Stevenson, man, comes out and gets a 12-1 tech fall.
I mean, it looked like he never stepped off a mat, never took a break, and he just came back.
He looked bigger, in my opinion. I think
he did
a little heavier and just as, if not stronger and faster. And to be honest, Mason Parris looks like he had no response to that. And you can't, nothing bad on Mason, national champ this year, incredible wrestler, but that man is an Olympic gold medalist. There is levels to this. And you know, it showed. It really did. It showed Gable has made these huge jumps since college. He
Yeah.
was able to, get a 12-1 tech. And finally, with pain in my heart to say the least, Don Bradley, one of my favorite human beings on this planet, sadly fell 8-0 to a very dominant Nick Gwizdowski, who I think
Was
hurts me to say this, Tom. It does, man. I was looking forward to it. And congrats to you, man. I mean, keeping yourself in that top five. I mean, you for somebody, I'm gonna not be to say it rude here, but somebody your age being able to stick it at 125 kgs and just every year be a top four, top five guy. There's no shame in your career, man. You've been, I think, I want to say they said at this point, three, you've been on three world teams. You've wrestled at the tournament. I mean, I want to say 10 times at this point, and you've placed every time. Don Bradley, I'm going to be sad the day your career comes to an end. I think you should wrestle forever. But congratulations to Nick Gwizdowski, but he has a test tomorrow. We get to see the kind of, in my opinion, another changing in the guard. Other than that Olympic year, this weight was Nick Gwizdowski. So for him, another stab at Gable is going to be huge. But in my
Mhm.
opinion, I think Gable's pretty untouchable at this point in the United States. I think
Yeah.
not even in the United States, in the world. I mean, nobody could fault me for saying that because the guy's an Olympic gold medalist. He is the best wrestler in the world at 125 kilograms. So until somebody proves me otherwise, that's all said and done, man. So that was the 2023 US Open semifinals. We will be back tomorrow night, me and Matthew, to cover the finals. And then tomorrow we will talk about the Final X matchups and who are some awesome matches we'll get to see. So
Yep.
it's been another episode of the Heavyweight Nation update, and we will see you guys tomorrow.